What if the biggest obstacle in your life is not your circumstances, your boss, your spouse, your childhood, or even your bad habits? What if the biggest obstacle is that your mind is doing exactly what it was designed to do? And what if the very thing you call your personality is actually just a collection of rehearsed patterns running on autopilot? If you've ever promised yourself that this week would be different, only to find yourself back in the same habits by Wednesday, if you've ever wondered why you keep having the same arguments, making the same mistakes, attracting the same kinds of people, or feeling the same frustrations, maybe you've noticed that despite learning more, reading more, and trying harder, your life somehow keeps returning to familiar territory. You probably think the problem is motivation. It isn't. By the end of this video, you'll understand why most attempts at self-improvement fail before they even begin. You'll discover how your mind quietly keeps you loyal to your past, how awareness changes everything, and why just 7 days of intentional observation can reveal more about your life than years of unconscious repetition. Because the life you're living today is not just a collection of choices, it's a collection of patterns. Most people think they have a thinking problem, but what they really have is a seeing problem. Think about it. Every morning you wake up believing you are making fresh decisions. You choose what to eat, you choose what to think about, you choose how to react, you choose what deserves your attention, or so it seems. But if we recorded your day and compared it to yesterday, how different would it actually be? The same routes, the same apps, the same worries, the same conversations, the same emotional triggers, the same assumptions, the same stories. The conditioned mind is loyal to what it knows, not because it wants to hurt you, because it wants to protect you, and the mind confuses familiarity with safety, even when familiarity is making you miserable. Imagine a woman named Emma. Every Sunday night she feels hopeful. This week will be different. She'll exercise, eat healthier, spend more time with family, stop doom scrolling, be more patient with her children. But by Thursday, she's exhausted. The exercise disappears. The phone returns. The stress returns. The guilt returns. The cycle repeats. Emma concludes she lacks discipline, but that's not the truth. The truth is, she is fighting an entire system of habits with a few moments of motivation. And motivation almost always loses, because motivation is emotional. Patterns are structural. This is where day one begins, not with change, with observation. Most people want transformation immediately, but awareness always comes first. Imagine trying to repair a car while refusing to look under the hood. That's how most people approach their lives. They keep pressing the accelerator harder without understanding why the engine is struggling. Day one asks a radical question. What if you stopped trying to fix yourself for 24 hours? What if you simply watched? Every time you reach for your phone, every time you procrastinate, every time you get irritated, every time you compare yourself to someone else, every time anxiety appears, notice, nothing more, just notice. Because awareness is the beginning of freedom. You cannot change what remains invisible. By day two, something strange begins to happen. You start seeing patterns everywhere. The phone isn't random, the stress isn't random, the loneliness isn't random, the anger isn't random. Patterns emerge, and patterns reveal purpose. A man named David realizes every time he feels uncertain at work, he immediately opens social media. Not because he's interested, because uncertainty feels uncomfortable. Social media becomes emotional anesthesia. Another woman notices she criticizes her husband most when she feels insecure about herself. Another parent realizes their impatience with their child often follows a stressful day at work. Suddenly, the behavior isn't random anymore, it makes sense. And when something makes sense, it becomes changeable. The greatest illusion of adulthood is believing we know ourselves. Most people know their biography. Very few know their patterns. There's a difference. You know where you were born, where you studied, who you married, what jobs you've had. That's your biography. But do you know what triggers your defensiveness? Do you know why certain comments upset you? Do you know what you're trying to avoid every time you distract yourself? That's self-awareness. And without self-awareness, life becomes repetition disguised as progress. Think about generational patterns. A father who grew up in criticism becomes highly critical himself, not because he wants to, because criticism became normal. A mother who grew up emotionally neglected struggles with emotional intimacy, not because she lacks love, because vulnerability feels unfamiliar. We inherit more than genes. We inherit patterns. And unless someone becomes conscious, the pattern continues. From grandparents to parents to children, from one generation to the next, like software being copied again and again and again. Day 3 introduces a powerful realization. You are not your thoughts. You are the observer of your thoughts. Most people spend their lives believing every thought deserves respect. It doesn't. A thought is simply an event occurring within consciousness, nothing more. You think you're not good enough. That doesn't make it true. You think someone dislikes you. That doesn't make it true. You think you'll fail. That doesn't make it true. Thoughts are weather, not identity. And once you realize this, something begins to loosen. The mind becomes less of a dictator and more of an advisor. Imagine standing beside a river. Leaves float past. Some are beautiful, some are ugly, some are frightening, some are comforting. You don't jump into the river every time a leaf appears. You watch. Thoughts deserve the same treatment. Observe. Don't automatically obey. Observe. Don't automatically believe. Observe. Don't automatically become. This single skill can transform an entire life. Day 4 asks a deeper question. Who would you be without your habits? Not your achievements, not your labels, not your profession, not your social media profile. Who are you beneath the patterns? This question makes many people uncomfortable. Because identity is often built from repetition. We don't just have habits. Eventually habits become us. The person who always worries becomes an anxious person. The person who always works becomes a workaholic. The person who always avoids conflict becomes easygoing. But are these identities, or just repeated behaviors? What if you're more flexible than you think? What if the prison door was never locked? By day 5, something beautiful begins to emerge. Choice, real choice, not the illusion of choice. Real choice. The pause between trigger and response. Someone criticizes you. Pause. Your child spills milk. Pause. Your spouse says something frustrating. Pause. The email arrives. Pause. In that tiny space lives freedom. Most people react. Conscious people respond. And that difference changes entire relationships, entire careers, entire lives. The modern world profits from your lack of awareness. Think about that. Algorithms want automatic behavior. Advertising wants automatic behavior. Politics wants automatic behavior. Fear wants automatic behavior. Because unconscious people are predictable, conscious people are difficult to manipulate. The moment you begin observing your mind, you become less programmable. You become less reactive, less impulsive, less controllable. And perhaps that's why awareness feels so revolutionary. Day 6 becomes an experiment in intentional living, not perfection, intentionality. Instead of asking, "What do I feel like doing?" ask, "What kind of person am I becoming?" The question changes everything, because feelings change hourly. Identity shapes destiny. A person who values health acts differently than someone trying to lose weight. A person who values presence acts differently than someone trying to spend less time on their phone. A person who values kindness acts differently than someone trying not to get angry. Identity first, behavior follows. Then, day 7 arrives, and something remarkable happens. You realize your life didn't change because of a productivity hack. It changed because you finally started paying attention. The problem was never that you lacked intelligence, or motivation, or potential. The problem was unconsciousness. You were asleep inside your own patterns, and now you're waking up, not completely, None of us ever do, but enough. Enough to see, enough to choose, enough to grow. And perhaps this is the greatest realization of all. Your life is not created by dramatic moments, it is created by repeated moments. Repeated thoughts, repeated reactions, repeated choices, repeated habits. Day after day, year after year, until they become your reality. The future isn't hiding somewhere ahead of you. The future is being rehearsed today. In your attention, in your habits, in your reactions, in your awareness. So as this video comes to an end, I want you to imagine your life as a garden. Most people spend years complaining about the weeds. Very few examine the seeds, but the harvest was always hidden inside the seeds. And your habits are seeds, your attention is a seed, your thoughts are seeds, your actions are seeds. Plant enough of them, and eventually they become a life, a beautiful one, or a painful one. The choice begins with awareness, not tomorrow, today, not next year, now, because the conditioned mind is loyal to what it knows. But awareness is loyal to what is true, and when truth meets awareness, change becomes inevitable. So for the next 7 days, don't try to become someone else. Simply learn to see yourself clearly. That alone may be the beginning of the greatest transformation of your life. Be kind to yourself, be patient with yourself. And remember, you cannot change what you refuse to see, but once you truly see it, everything becomes possible. Thank you for watching. Please comment, share with others, and subscribe for more videos.